Forgotten, beneath our feet, a dark world awaits.
Built not just by hands, but by the raw need for survival. 1,200 tunnels, 2,500 years of secrets, deep in the volcanic heart of Italy. They didn't just hide here. They built a shadow empire that rivaled the world above.
Underground empires, the forbidden chronicles, witness the impossible.
Forgotten beneath our feet, a dark world awaits, built not just by hands. Displays and glass towers of our modern world lies a silent, dark reality that most have forgotten. Built upward toward the light, we have carved deep into the crust of the planet, creating vast empires that mirror the complexity. It's of any surface city, God. Thousands of people underground, from the volcanic tuff of Italy to the arid steppes of Kazakhstan. Ancient engineers utilized a radical concept known as negative space architecture. Here, the removal of material was as critical as the construction of it, turning solid stone into schools, kitchens, temples, and homes. The scale of these sites is staggering, with some reaching 18 stories deep, featuring sophisticated ventilation shafts and modular living quarters that rival modern apartment complexes. But the persistence of these places poses a haunting question. Why did entire civilizations separated by oceans and eras decide to abandon the webinar? To migrate into the stone? Whether driven by the threat of total war, extreme climatic shifts, or sacred ritual shelters, they were permanent engineered solutions to an impossible survival crisis. So sit back, grab a snack, and join us as we peel back the layers of the earth to investigate the who, what, and how of the world's most mysterious underground locations. Instrumental transition. Thanks, dramatic beat. These chambers, carved millennia ago, hold secrets the modern world is only beginning to uncover. Our exploration begins high above the Paglia River Valley in central Italy, where the city of Orvieto sits atop a whole massive pedestal of volcanic tuff. While the medieval architecture on the surface is visually striking, the true engineering marvel is the shadow city that exists within the plateau itself. Over 1,200 tunnels, galleries, and cellars are interwoven into the stone, creating gasoline. A subterranean empire that was utilized for over 20,500 years last was. The Etruscans, who first realized that the geological properties of their home offered a unique opportunity for industrial-scale expansion. This, a foundation of compacted volcanic ash, known as tuff, settled over the landscape millions of years ago following massive eruptions. The nearby Bolsona region yet is. For ancient builders, the materials was ideal. Hand tools, like picks and chisels, yet it undergoes a process of hardening when exposed to air. This meant that, as soon as a room was carved, it began to structurally stabilize itself, allowing for a vertical expansion that mirrored the streets above. As space on the surface became a premium, the citizens simply moved their infrastructure into the dark. For a long time, it was assumed that these spaces were merely used as temporary shelters. But the Orvieto Underground project has revealed a much more complex reality. The residents moved entire segments of their economy into the stone, converting depths into primary sites for food production. The olive oil industry in particular was a subterranean powerhouse. Because the caves maintained a constant temperature of about 15 degrees Celsius, they provided the ideal environment for storing oil without it turning. Archaeologists have found the remains of massive grindstones and settling tanks, carved directly into the floor. These presses were powered by animals that were lowered into the depths, working in the cool air to process the harvest brought in from the surrounding valleys. The engineering of these rooms included intricate drainage channels to manage the waste. The pigeon breeding chambers, or columbaria, were even more specialized. These rooms were lined with. These niches allowed birds to nest. Because Orvieto is naturally defensible, the birds provided a constant source of protein that did not require grazing land. The engineering here was remarkable. Builders carved small angled openings leading to the cliff faces. These holes were large enough for pigeons to fly in and out. These holes were small enough to prevent larger predators from entering, allowing the city to maintain a self-replenishing food source. The city maintained a food source that was entirely protected from any enemy who might be surrounding the city on the ground. The history of these structures is a testament to the ingenuity of their builders. History of these tunnels is also deeply tied to the Etruscan mastery of water. Long before the medieval city existed, the Epothers, Etruscan engineered a system of cuniculi, narrow, tall tunnels used to drain land and manage groundwater, with a slight consistent gradient to move water to central cisterns. When the Romans eventually conquered the region, they were so impressed by this hydraulic logic that they incorporated it into their own urban designs. Even today, these ancient drainage panels continue to protect the Orvieto plateau from internal erosion, channeling rainwater away from the structural foundations of the surface. The logistical foresight of these builders reached its peak in the 16th century with the construction of the Pozzo, the San Patrizio, or St. Patrick's Well Hen. Following the sack of Rome in 1527, fearing a long siege, he commissioned the architect Antonio de San Gallo the Younger to create a secure water, a well that reaches 62 meters into the earth, cutting through the strata to reach a natural spring. The well's double helix staircase is a masterclass in spatial geometry. It consists of two separate spiral ramps that wind around the shaft but never intersect. This allowed pack animals like horses to carry heavy water jars down one staircase and back up the other in a continuous loop light. By preventing animals from meeting, St. Gallo eliminated the risk of accidents in the narrow, dimly lit shaft. Each staircase is lit by 72 windows cut into the central wall, allowing light from the surface to penetrate deep into the shaft. Beyond the economic love, the tunnels served as a sprawling defensive network. Private basements directly to the valley floor below. These escape routes were designed to be invisible to anyone standing on the surface, allowing the entire population to vanish at a moment's notice. Some of these tunnels were so narrow and winding that a single defender could hold off a squad of invaders, utilizing the darkness and the acoustic resonance of the stone to their advantage. The tunnels also served a practical, if darker, purpose as medieval waste. Modern archaeologists, these pits are a gold mine of information. Because they were sealed for centuries, they contained perfectly preserved layers of discarded ceramics and tools. These items have allowed researchers to reconstruct the daily lives, diets, and trade connections of the Edo citizens from the 13th century through the Renaissance. The artifacts found within show that even in times of extreme isolation, the people of the underground city were part of a sophisticated Mediterranean trade network. Recent mapping using LiDAR technology. The LiDAR has allowed researchers to see through the solid rock in ways previous generations never could. Uncovered previously unknown connections between these private tunnels and the central city labyrinth. This data suggests that the entire plateau was treated as a single modular piece of architecture. In some areas, the stone walls between tunnels are only a few centimeters thick, suggesting that the builders knew exactly where their neighbors were excavating. This implies a level of civic coordination and surveying that was previously thought unlikely for the era. The scans have even identified breakthrough walls, sections of stone that were intentionally left thin so they could be quickly breached in an emergency to link separate tunnel systems. Pars. This reveals a city that was constantly being re-engineered and adapted to the political realities of the time, the transition. This time forever existed. A series of cadres that make rain. we see a civilization. Shaped. The citizens lived a dual existence, moving between the sunlight of the piazzas and the engineered silence of the crypt. Tunnels. It was a lifestyle defined by the stone, where the safety of the population was bought with the labor, as of the excavators who carved their legacy into the volcanic foundations. Music fades out slowly,